Hey guys, so Blade Vortex Totems was supposed to be a meme build, but it turned into one of the highest damage builds I ever did. With 5 totems I'm getting close to 4 million DPS against Shaper. And the funny thing is, this build is not even expensive besides this staff. I bought a 6 linked Shaper staff and then crafted some decent mods. Not the ones that I wanted, but it's still very decent stuff. And the rest of the items are very ordinary. So of course with more expensive items you could push the damage way over 4 million. Now, while the single target is amazing, and there is actually a trick to get 10 stacks for your totems easily, but the clear speed is very clunky and I kind of got bored of it. Maybe part of that is the burnout, but I only reached level 87 on this build. I mean, the clear speed is not the worst, but it's definitely nothing compared to Glacial Cascade totems, which I did try using it. I just did not want to use Glacial Cascade, so I kept on using Blade Vortex. And I did try to get a lot of AoE to make the leveling feel smoother, and you do need quite a lot of AoE to make your totems overlap against single target. So most of the time while mapping I was using increased AoE for Blade Vortex, but for big bosses like Shaper's Guardians, Elder's Guardians, Shaper himself, I did swap to Conk Effect, which means you have to be more precise where you place your totems and when you place your totems, because if the boss moves or you place them too far, or if you place them on the degen ground, well then obviously you're not dealing damage or your totems just die. So in this video you'll see clips me doing tier 15 Elder Guardians, tier 15 Elder, Shaper's Guardians, Ghosted Minotaur, couple of examples of just map clear speed, running level 83 save houses, some Syndicate fights in higher tier maps. By the way, Syndicate also melts very fast. As always, timestamps and PUB import code will be in the video description. So I guess the first thing I need to explain is the trick how you can get 10 stacks for your totems. Normally you would need a lot of cast speed for your totems to ramp up to 10 Blade Vortex stacks, and it may take like 3 seconds, maybe a bit less, and by that time the boss may be in a different spot or the totems may be already dead. So turns out if you self-cast Blade Vortex, your totems inherit those stacks. You can, let's say, self-cast 10 stacks and then summon totems and they will immediately have those 10 stacks. There's still some kind of weird delay before totems start actually spinning those blades and start dealing damage. Or you can place totems and then self-cast Blade Vortex to ramp up totem stacks quickly. And I think Winter Orb should work the same way. So for self-cast Blade Vortex you want very fast cast speed and duration. Totems do not inherit anything else besides amount of stacks. Also I found out, like for example, I tried using self-cast Blade Vortex and I tried having cast when damage taken Blade Vortex and then Blade Vortex totems. So if I self-cast Blade Vortex stacks, summon my totems and then get hit and trigger cast when damage taken, I lose all those stacks and you have to ramp it up again. So having multiple Blade Vortex setups is actually bad. You either want to fully rely on cast when damage taken or other shenanigans, or fully use self-cast. I have tried using Skull's Bridal Helmet to trigger cast when damage taken setup, just manually spamming my totems with multi-totem, but I did not like that idea and it wasn't really worth it, it seemed, because you are inflicting damage to yourself and it is still hard to maintain 10 stacks. It does feel much smoother because you don't need to stop and self-cast BV all the time. And maybe it would work better without multi-totem because you could spam your totems a bit more. But I just chose to use self-cast BV. And this trick, this bug, this feature or whatever you wanna call it, it did feel very OP while leveling, but once I got to red tier maps, the damage is not that amazing anymore. And if you compare to other builds and how much damage we can deal, I don't think that this would need a nerf actually. Surely someone will min-max this and get insane damage, but there are plenty of builds that can defeat Shaper in less than 1 second. And this trick kind of allows you to play Blade Vortex Totems, because without it you would not want to play it. Well, maybe you probably still would not want to play it, but whatever. So I really hope that this does not get changed because it doesn't break anything and it only enables a meme build, and we do need more viable meme builds. I guess meme is not the right word, maybe just off meta build. Anyway, let me quickly talk about my items, skills, links and then passive skill tree. So my items, like I mentioned, the staff is the only expensive kind of item. I think I bought 6 link for 3x and then crafted it myself. Then Carcass Jack for more AoE, Fenumus Weave Gloves for more damage, Malachai's Artifice, which is socketed with Lightning Golem, because I'm dealing mostly fire damage, so the Lightning Golem applies elemental equilibrium, and it's only really ever needed against big bosses. I do have Helmet enchantment for Blade Vortex crit multiplier for each blade, but overall it doesn't give that much. It's like 200k DPS against the Shaper, which in fact is around 5 to 7% of your damage. Then to give me a bit more damage and to make me mitigate physical damage, I am using Taste of Hate. I do have pretty nice amulet which gives me physical damage as extra fire and a bit more crit multiplier. Then of course I'm using Diamond Flask with the new crit chance mod, Granite Flask for a bit more tankiness and to remove curses, and the rest of the stuff is just rare items with life and resistances. Jewels mostly with life and some damage, and some jewels with totem life and totem resistance, because you do need a bit of totem resistance because totems by default have 40% resistances and I believe 20% heals, and from passive skill tree you do get 26% elemental resistance to totems, so then you have 66, so you need about 9% totem resistances. So one jewel with totem resistances should be enough. Now, skills and links. The main setup inside my staff is Blade Vortex level 21, quality 20. It wasn't that expensive, like 40 years. Linked with Spell Totem. Quality is important because quality for Spell Totem and Multi-Totem actually gives totem placement speed to make it smoother. So Spell Totem, Multi-Totem, Immolate, increased AoE for clear speed and swap it to Conk effect for bossing. And then I was using added fire damage, but it's actually better to use Control Destruction in this setup. It does give a bit more damage, but depending on the staff that you get, you may still want to use added fire damage instead of Control Destruction. Oh, and Power Charge on crit in the staff does not generate charges to totems. You actually have to self-cast something to generate power charges. So for that I was using Stormbrand linked with Power Charge on crit, increased duration and Val Righteous Fire, and the self-cast Blade Vortex inside my body armor, which is 5 linked, but it does not have to be 5 linked. And it is linked with faster casting, increased duration, blind and spell echo. Blind is not really needed, but it does help quite a lot. I find efficacy to not be worth it because it only adds like 1 second, so it did feel better to have faster casting instead of efficacy. Then I have cast when damage taken linked with Enfeeble, increased duration, Immortal Call. With the damage that I had, I did not feel like I need a curse for damage. Then I have Clarity, Herald of Ash with quality and Enlighten, also Flame Dash, Lightning Golem inside the ring. Also inside of Path of Building I edited items and added Arcane Surge as well because it was not calculated. So passive skill tree, this is Scion, Hierophant-Chieftain. Hierophant gives you an extra totem, 8% of damage taken as mana before life, which is a bit kind of iffy sometimes. Then you gain Arcane Surge when your totem is hit, and that Arcane Surge is level 1, which I added in the skills to calculate because it does not calculate properly in PoB. Chieftain gives you just regen, cover enemies in ash, which gives 20% more fire damage, and allows your totems to leech life to you. I chose to go with Scion because it gives leech, which you don't get as a pure Hierophant, but of course pure Hierophant is also a viable option. And you see the rest of the passive skill tree. I actually ignored totem cast speed, picked up other totem nodes like life damage, resistances. Also I got one skill effect duration wheel, and since I'm using staff I picked up a couple of staff nodes for more crit chance. I did not go for another crit chance staff node to the left of the Templar area, because even with Control Destruction I get 82% effective crit chance, and getting those staff nodes means you have to go through the 4 staff block nodes, which are kind of useless to you before you can get some crit chance. So those points could be spent elsewhere more efficiently. I will include level 90 passive skill tree in PoB as well. And that's about all. My next build is most likely gonna be some Righteous Fire with massive AoE. I multi-modded a weapon for that, but I just don't get enough AoE, so I'm not entirely sure if I'm gonna like that build. So for now, thank you for watching and I'll see you soon.